Hello everybody and welcome to the British Pint. My name is Christoph and we're down here testing my clone of the Guinness Draught that I did last time. Now there's already a problem, and while things went quite smoothly during the brew day, I do have a really low final gravity, and I think the problem is that I transferred two beers at the same time and probably didn't clean the transferring tool that I use properly, because this one now has less than 2% final gravity, so less than 1/008, and even though I would expect it to be a bit drier with more flake barley than last time where I used none, it's still a bit a pity. The second thing that is happening, so physical problems all along, because this is very slightly cloudy. You can see that in the bottom part here, well, I can see it because I'm looking at it through the light. So I can see that while the color is really nice and it gives that ruby reflections, it is a bit hazy. Now I reduced the protein rest that I did last time at 60 degrees, which is the one that you use for really long chains, the ones that cause chill haze, from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. And I think that was not enough. 15 minutes is definitely better, because last time it was crystal clear. And what happens when you have so much chill haze and you use a yeast like the Guinness yeast that is very badly flocculating, is that it is not precipitating properly, and that's why the foam is not as stable and all these things happen afterwards. I just realized I didn't bring down the microphone with me, so I really hope that the audio quality isn't too atrocious. Otherwise I'm going to make it very quick. So my comparison with Guinness, much better foam stability. Last time the Guinness clone was much better. Definitely either a fermentation issue or the chill haze that is still there, or both in some part. But I want to just check the flavour. Now because this fermented so dry, I did overcarb it because I didn't expect that. So it is quite fizzy. But that should not be too much of an issue. The smell is really good. Chocolate and dark coffee roastiness, really as you would expect it. Let's see how this one compares. A bit more difficult through the foam to smell it, but it's very mild. Same roast character. Yeah, but a bit more muted. But it smells of the same thing, so that is good. Yeah, so the grain bill is really good. 5% chocolate malt, 3%, no, black malt. 5% black malt, 3% roasted barley is really, in my opinion, the way to go forward with this beer. 10% flaked barley make it a bit lighter, a bit less malty, but I can't really judge that now because it is tasting a bit watery because of that incredibly low final gravity. So when you clone that beer, it should end up at somewhere around 2.1, 2.2, maybe 2.3% final gravity, so almost 10-10 in specific gravity. And that would be much more appropriate for the yeast, which has about 75% attenuation. Now this is still very easy drinking, very nice. It does have exactly the bitterness that I want. I will have to compare directly to see if there's a very slight variation, but it's really not as harsh as last time, where I did 45 IBUs like it is recommended for the Guinness Extra Stout. This one was roughly 35, 34 IBU. I think 34 is the analytical data for Guinness. This is incredibly nicely tasting. You have just a bit more hop bitterness than roast bitterness, which makes it much more bearable than instead of having this burnt flavor. And it really encourages you to keep drinking. You notice that I was just taking the second sip without thinking. I really want to keep going. Incredibly thirst-quenching, quaffable, really nice. I do not taste the yeast character, which is something that I was looking forward to, because last time I fermented at 21 degrees, this time 21.5 degrees, very slightly warmer. But there's definitely something there that I can smell. It's just difficult to get beyond that roast character, which is so prominent. So actually I would say now that it is a bit too intense, more grape, like actual grape smell than last time, where it was a bit more towards peach apricot, so I would prefer 21 degrees if you were cloning this. Yeah, this one actually does have a slightly musty smell, which I'm not sure where it comes from. I think the glass was freshly cleaned, so that's a bit strange. But it does smell a bit off, which I wouldn't expect from a bottle. And the bottle is not, the can I have to say, the can is not old either. Much more intense body, much more intense maltiness. That is because the attenuation on my beer is too low. This one actually tastes quite sweet in comparison, which also makes sense if you have more malt body. I'm a bit overwhelmed by the sweetness now, which is unusual for a Guinness draft, but just the direct comparison is a bit off-balancing. Yeah, okay, I get a better impression of the flavor now. Slowly getting used to it. Yeah, you have a certain... how can you describe it? There's a certain character which tastes creamy, and I always thought that it would be a property just of the foam thickness. When this one still had a bit of foam, it did feel creamy, but this one actually tastes a bit like cream, milk, dairy, stuff like that. That, I'm not sure how you would get that, and it's definitely lacking in my beer. So that's something that I cannot talk around and say that maybe it would be there if I would have had better luck. No. That slight cream flavor, which is something that I tend to get from torrefied wheat, but it's definitely not in the Guinness draft where they have the ingredients on the back. That doesn't say anything about wheat. So I don't think that's in there. Yeah, a bit disappointing that I didn't get that character. I thought the flake barley would be the stuff to bring that over. The fruitiness, it takes 3 sips to really get there. The fruitiness has this very light character that I always call apricot, and it is really apricot here. So this apricot flavor is really subtle and very clean. Much cleaner than I got it from my beer when I fermented at 21 degrees. So, very nice fruity character, but just really... I'm not sure how they get that, to be honest. I liked the fruit character that I got at 21 degrees fermentation. This one's a bit too much, with 21.5 degrees Celsius. But you should try to get your own a balanced amount. It might be that if you ferment a bit colder, the fruit flavor changes, and if you keep a good underpitching, then the fruity flavor will still be prominent. Normally when you go colder, everything diminishes, and that is not what you want here. But I think if you go for maybe 18 degrees but with a very low pitching rate, this might also work. But I probably will not try that myself. Now in direct comparison, this is still really close, so I'm not disappointed by that at all. It's really nice. Also the same character that I was describing earlier, that it is really easily drinkable. But the fruit flavor actually is significantly less. I wonder how they get that intensity. And maybe that's also how they get that creaminess. The color is very slightly less dark in my beer, so I might have to go with a bit more darker malts. Maybe they're using some special crystal malts that enhance the body and give that creaminess. That could be. That is something that I didn't do and didn't try. So that would be worth a try, I guess. Add a very slight bit of crystal malt. I think I would finish the video now because I'm not sure about the audio quality. And then the next beer I will be brewing, there might be some tastings in between and some commercial beer tastings, viewer beers tastings. But the next beer I want to try is the Brewdog Blackheart, which is also a really good stout. So stay tuned for that. That one really had also an interesting character, very complex quality to it. But now I would say this is my comparison of it. Quite happy with my clone recipe, though I acknowledge it is not perfect. Very difficult to get a perfect recipe without the full ingredient list and so on. So I will see you next time, and take care.